necessarily directly feeling your compassion is still practicing compassion, isn't it? And with that as an example, you know, we think about the golden rule. It's doable for all of us if we're good people. And I know that all of us are. Each and every one of us here and all over, many good people. But here's where I think it gets kind of sticky. It can't be limited, practicing the golden rule, to your own group. Living by the maxim means concern for everybody. Stranger, or the foreigner, or the unclean, or the uneducated, or the other political party. And you don't marginalize anyone, not if you're really practicing it. So putting compassion in action and living by the golden rule is really not for sissies. Compassion can be dangerous too. Take, for example, Jesus Christ. He said, love your enemies. And look where it got him. Right? And then take Gandhi. He practiced compassion. Look where it got him. He was assassinated too. And Dr. King, he was our modern day model for compassion and the golden rule. Fear is the enemy of compassion. It's one of the other things that Joan Halifax has talked about in some of her training. And so I'm not saying that these guys, Jesus and Gandhi and Martin Luther King, were fearless, but they certainly were able to transcend those fears and not become attached to the fear. I think that was part of it. They didn't stay attached in order for them to actively practice compassion in the golden rule. And these guys, they certainly felt moral outrage at the things happening. We know that Jesus threw the money tenders out of the temple. He had moral outrage, right? But even when it came to that, he still practiced the golden rule, essentially. Even when it came to his enemies, and our enemies, their enemies. When we mindfully practice the golden rule, we have to recognize, I think, that our enemies, or those that we hold in enmity, also have pain, whether it's physical or mental or emotional. And in refusing to inflict pain, the pain that we don't want for ourselves, when refusing to inflict pain on another, it means any other. Because one life is not more valuable than another. Not really. And when the golden rule is applied, it's not only applied to very personal relationships, but every relationship. And so it means looking at all of our relationships maybe a little bit differently. And maybe looking a little differently than we have in the past. And taking ourselves in hand so that we can be different in our interactions with others. Now, nearly 9 years ago, there was a woman named Karen Armstrong. And Karen Armstrong is a historian and she's a religious scholar. And she gave a really important TED Talk. And as a result of this TED Talk, she was awarded the TED Prize. Did you know there was a TED Prize? $100,000. The TED organization awarded Karen Armstrong $100,000 to realize a wish for a better world. And she used that $100,000 to create a charter for compassion. And it's a document to serve as a basis for a program that would make compassion an active force in the world. And it was written by literally hundreds of thousands of people using a multilingual online website. And then it was composed with that input from a council of 18 people representing 6 of the major world's religions. Armstrong had been really frustrated that although all the world's religions have a compassionate ethos at the heart of them, they hadn't been making much of a contribution towards compassion. And one of the biggest tasks of our time is that, making a global community where people of all persuasions can live in peace and harmony. In fact, she observed that religions had been part of the problem in many cases. And so they wrote this charter for compassion. And I think I made about 16 copies of it, so I'm going to pass it out here. Just a second. So, some here. Maybe share if you could. Some here. More. Get it to the back. So we have this charter for compassion. Give you just a second to look at it. As you look at it, I'll say that now there is a worldwide network of compassionate communities, including cities and businesses and spiritual and religious organizations, education organizations, arts organizations, science organizations. They've all signed on to this Charter for Compassion. And if you go onto the World Wide Web and just Google Charter for Compassion, the site will come up. And you can see all of the different kinds of organizations that have signed on to this. We could too, if we chose to. We could put it on our website. It's a thought, something to be discussed. And these organizations have all taken their own personal approach to it. There are processes and tools in the website to support communities in taking action with compassionate initiatives. And those initiatives include things that involve sometimes education, or service, or anti-bullying, or homelessness, or healthcare, or whatever the issues are that are important to that particular organization, that particular community. So let me kind of end with the idea that the golden rule isn't an airy notion. And it's not just part of our private lives, and it's not just a nice idea that Mom taught me. But I think it's an urgent global imperative. And I think that we, with our philosophy here, can be part of that, are part of it now. Our world's in a great period of instability. That's all that anybody talks about right now. And in some places, real chaos. And if we don't live by the golden rule, then we will destroy each other. I don't want us to do that. I've got grandchildren. They're all our children, right? So, Bessie, you've stayed awake through all of this. I really appreciate it. My basset hound. And I'll just, got about 5 minutes. I just open it up if anybody else has any thoughts or questions. You're welcome to. There's a lot on this. Jay.